it never felt like enough. I could do so many things on my to-do list, and I'd be crashing into bed at night just being like, oh, so I've got this to do and that to do. And I'd be beating myself up for all the things I didn't do. And it just never felt complete. And so what this is like a little exercise you can do, a 3-step process that I like to call the intuitive to-do list. And basically it overcomes that issue. So it really helps with the overwhelm, but it also helps you to climb into bed at night just feeling like, today was a good day. I nailed today. What a successful day.
Hello, my beautiful friends. My name is Dr. Becc.
And I am Kristeen Barker, and this is Am I Doing It Wrong? A podcast for doctors by doctors. Dr. Becc is a mindset coach and medical doctor who specialises in liberating driven, professional women from the limitations of perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and people pleasing. She's basically the cheat code for getting out of your own way, showing up authentically, and living a life you're proud of.
And Kristeen is a medical educator and nephrologist who creates resources for doctors in training that I truly think are an unfair advantage. She makes complex topics super simple and takes the pain and uncertainty out of passing your medical exams. Kristeen and I connected a few years ago via our online platforms, and over the years we've discussed countless highs, lows, and in-betweens of doctor life. And in doing so, we've experienced firsthand the power of vulnerable conversations to show us where we're getting in our own way and underestimating our capacity.
So we want you to be part of the conversation and experience these same results. Every week on the pod, we'll be bringing you conversations which shine light in dark places, normalise the doctor journey, ease unnecessary suffering, and give you actionable steps to thrive in all facets of your life. So grab a cuppa and get cozy for this week's episode of Am I Doing It Wrong? The podcast for doctors by doctors.
All right. Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel and to another episode. I am getting all the tips that I need. I've been waiting to get this system from Kristeen. We're in an interesting time in our lives at the moment where our businesses are quite established. Then we've got our clinical medicine to do as well. And life is less and less about, the question of, can we do it anymore? When you're starting off, of course, well, for me, starting off was just riddled with self-doubt. The main question was, can I do this? Can I do this every day? And now the question shifted to, what exactly am I going to do with my limited amount of time and resources? Now that I know that I can do it, how in the world do I choose what to do with my limited amount of time? And this is why I'm so grateful that Kristeen's going to share some of her magic today, because she is the queen of intuition in my mind. And with that, she comes with all these personally experienced, tried and tested different tools and strategies that I haven't come across myself. So, Kristeen, please share with us your system for me today, or give me some background if there is some background, but obviously I'm just itching to get to the solution.
Oh, thanks, Becc. And I really hope this helps every person who's listening. I would really urge you to give this a try. So this was something I came across fairly recently, sometime in the last few months. And I was just listening to a little podcast, and I actually can't remember the name of the person who gave this. It's not my original idea. I got it from a podcast. But it was just a journaling prompt that this person gave me. And when I tried it, I thought, oh my goodness, where have you been all my life? So I guess to set the scene, I have always been a person who has a massive to-do list. Like Becc says, my to-do list seems to expand. I've got one for my clinical role and one for my business and one for all the other things. And it's massive. Every week I sit down and I do a brain dump and I try and figure out what's going on. But even when I've done the brain dump, even when it's all in front of me, it still then just feels like a massive to-do list, right? So I love a good brain dump, and it helps with the overwhelm just to get it out your head onto paper. But then it's really tricky to know what to do in the moment. And I had this other issue that I was having, that it never felt like enough. I could do so many things on my to-do list, and I'd be crashing into bed at night just being like, oh, so I've got this to do and that to do. And I'd be beating myself up for all the things I didn't do. And it just never felt complete. And so what this is like a little exercise you can do, a 3-step process that I like to call the intuitive to-do list. And basically it overcomes that issue. So it really helps with the overwhelm, but it also helps you to, climb into bed at night just feeling like, today was a good day. I nailed today. What a successful day. And that is such a beautiful energy to finish your day on and will continue into the next day. So it kind of feeds itself. So that's really why I want to share this, because I really hope that everyone gets the same benefit. So the 3-step process of the intuitive to-do list is starting off with gratitude. Now, I'm just talking about generic gratitude, anything you're thankful for, write it all down, get it all out your head, right? And I know that can sound cliched, but it just gets you into a different frame of mind. It gets you into a more positive place, and you can see that, not everything's a disaster. Actually, things are pretty good, right? So you've got that gratitude going on. So that's just the warm up. The next step is setting your future goals. So what do you actually want to achieve? So writing a list of things that you want, and these can be major, major aspirations, or it can be something, a short-term goal that you're trying to work through right now. But what are your goals? What would you like to achieve? And then on top of that, in that same section, once you've got your goals, it's about being grateful for achieving those goals. So now you insert yourself into your future, and you're now the future version of yourself, and you express gratitude for having already achieved the things that you just wrote out. So insert yourself. Where are you? What are you wearing? What are you doing? How are you feeling? Having achieved those goals. So now you've got this whole other mindset going on where your future self is grateful for having done it all. And then this is the magic. This is the magic part. Step 3 is writing down, what do I need to do to achieve my goals or get closer to your goals, whatever you want. But what do I need to do today to get closer to my goals would be a great thing to write. You can phrase it, what's organic for you. And then all you do now is you write down whatever comes into your head. Now, you're not allowed to think about it. That's the issue. You're not allowed to cognitively add anything that your perfectionistic self might want to chuck in here. This is about your intuition is the first things that come into your head. And what will surprise you is that list is often quite a short list. It's very manageable, and it's often quite loving. Like usually it's got stuff like go for a walk, because I have lots of ideas on walks, for example. So go for a walk, or you don't have to do anything today, or or it'll say one key thing that if I just get that done, that'll be the right next step for me. And then of course the next day you do the same thing and you got the next step. So it's great for getting a bit of direction, but what I find it really does for me is it gives me permission to not always be doing something, which I think is actually pretty massive. And if my intuition says go for a walk and then do one thing, I can absolutely trust that. And I fall into bed just believing that that's the truth and feeling so good about my day. Whereas the other part of me, the more human part of me, if she gets involved, then it's a whole scene. Like there's no relaxing when we get into bed at all. So that is the 3-step process. I have tried and tested it. I really would love you guys to try and test it. I think it will change your game. What do you think about this, Becc? Because obviously there's a lot of thought work and manifestation stuff infused in here. What comes up for you when you listen to that system?
Oh, I'm just listening to all the elements of this system and thinking, yes, 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 yes. It all makes so much sense. There's so many beautiful elements. And gratitude, yes, so many things there, but I just want to skip past gratitude and emphasize how advantageous that future self work is. That's brilliant. That is the place that I too want to decide what I want to do each day from my future self. And admittedly, I don't do that as much as I'd like to. You've really brought that to the front of my mind as something that I'd like to bring back into my practice a bit more, because what's the point of doing all the work that we're doing if it's not actually contributing to where we want to be ultimately, to the direction that we're trying to go? And it sounds so basic, but it's really easy to lose track of that future goal in the day-to-day hustle and bustle of our lives. It's really easy for things to end up on our to-do list for the day because they're urgent, but actually in the big picture, we don't realize that they're actually not that important. So we fill our days with these things that are urgent on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. But actually, if we were thinking about our 1-year plan, our 5-year plan, our life, what's important to us in life, that urgent thing might not make the cut. It might not make it to your to-do list. And I can absolutely see why it would be easier for you to put your head on the pillow at night if suddenly you're not spending all this time doing this stuff that's urgent but not important. And you have that peace of mind to know what I did today is actually a significant step towards my goals. That would be a complete game changer, I think, for a lot of us. But the future self stuff, the journaling prompt, that is, so you've said they ask you to write down your future goal, but then specifically they ask you to essentially embody being that person who has achieved that goal. I think that is a step that a lot of us don't take. And again, it's something that I'm trying to do more of, because when you are prompted to say, I'm so grateful for achieving this goal, that gratitude for having that result floods your body. And I think that's such an easy prompt to get you to the place where you can easily visualize and experience what it would actually be like to have achieved that and to be that person. In coaching, we have this concept from one of my coaches, and I think she might have gotten this from her coach and her coach, because it's a very common fundamental concept in the mindset coaching that I do, which is who before how. That you connect with the person you want to be, that future version of you first. And then when you're connected with that person will be able to tell you what you need to do, i.e. the how, instead of what most of us do, which is we decide the steps, the how first, so that we can become the who. But this journaling prompt that you've done so beautifully sets you up to be that person first and then tap into their wisdom, the person who's already achieved the goal. That future version of you, what would they actually ask for you to do today to get to where they are with all the things they know? It's brilliant.
Yeah, but it's so interesting because I actually haven't until this moment sat and thought about why it's doing what it's doing. And that's actually so true. So, like it's the direction, in that bigger picture's perspective, making decisions from that vantage point is that the right word? From that lens. I don't know. Anyway, but making decisions from that place is just so beautiful. Like, as in, you're right, and it gives you that direction. So all the busy work or the things that other people want from you, it makes like boundaries easy to set as well, in terms of if that's where you're going. Because I guess, like I'm saying, a lot of this is I'm trying to tell you to do it intuitively. So I wasn't overthinking it. But now I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh, that's why it works. That's actually why it works. And I know that at the start of the year, you actually put on your vision board, your word for the year, your theme for the year was discernment. So I feel like this is right up your right up your street. And so it's beautiful that you've got that sort of you can sort of unpack why it's all working. And is there anything else that you're doing that you can add here for that discernment? Like, I guess figuring out what's important, what are the needle movers, like that type of thing. Do you have any other advice?
Well, that's it. That's the key word that you just mentioned there, needle movers, because it's one thing to decide to be discerning with your work, with where you put your energy, but actually working out what are the high yield things you can do to create the result you want. That's really difficult, I'm finding. It's something that requires experimentation for me. I need to work out what actually are the needle movers with that goal that I have. What are the 20% of things that I do that produce 80% of the results versus all that busy work that we talk about, that the 80% of stuff that we do that only produces 20% of the results. So that's currently a lot of the work that I'm doing. And this strategy that you have of connecting with your future self first, connecting with the person who's achieved that goal, and then getting advice from them, or even just being in the mind state of somebody who's achieved that. I think that's something that is a brilliant strategy for helping me work out what the needle movers are. And as I've said, you've really just reminded me of the utility of this, and you've shined me out, guys. Shined sounds better than shone. You shined a light on.
Sounds like an ancient way to speak, doesn't it, Sean? Shone a light.
Shone a light. You've shone a light on this strategy that I haven't been using and the strategy that I can use more of. And I would be really excited to see what first came to mind for me in this current challenge of me trying to work out what the needle movers are, to get into that future self state and then to just listen to what comes up from that state of mind. Stuff that my current busy or time scarce or overwhelmed self, she would come up with very different answers from the person who's already achieved the goal in the way that I want to achieve it. So I'm super excited about this strategy. And in particular, like you said, just letting the first thought come out and capturing that before that judgmental part of my mind weighs in and says, oh, but you've got to do this as well. And oh, you can't let that go and da, 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 da. So that's a great challenge of sort of mindfulness for me as well. That would come with me trying on this strategy of asking that last question. It was, what do I need to do today? Is that right?
Yeah, or what can I do today to get closer to my goal? Or what can I do today to achieve this goal? So it's just a today thing because you're just looking for the one or two little nuggets. And I guess that also leads us into the beautiful permission that gives you to rest, because now that you don't have to do your entire to-do list, you actually do just, if you just do one or two things, if you just execute the plan that your intuition gave you or your future self gave you or whatever it is you've come up with, that you're not judging, you haven't planned it, it's just coming from a very wise place, then after you've done that, the day is yours and you feel off the hook and you feel like you got permission to do it. And you might choose to do something else on the to-do list. Power to you, but you also could just choose to have joy or rest or something else, which I think is a missing puzzle piece from my life, certainly. Like I'm getting better at it, but and this really, really helps. This was an absolute game changer. It was almost like an instant turnaround when I'd been sort of challenged by that for many, many months to years. I was like, how do I rest? I cannot rest. Like there's too much to be doing. I cannot rest. And not giving myself that permission because my self-worth was tied up in what I was doing and what I was producing rather than just being and being who I am. And I think that's something we can all relate to. So this is almost like an absolute shortcut to get you there and give yourself permission to rest. Yeah.
That's such a common problem, isn't it? The inability to rest and this idea that we get of trying to be productive with every single second of our time. And to have the realization, I think it's a highly mature thing to have the realization that trying to squeeze in more things, more tasks, more learning, more knowledge, whatever it is, into your time, it doesn't necessarily translate into, well, for the point of this episode, doesn't necessarily translate to you moving towards your goal in particular, but it doesn't even necessarily translate to you becoming better or more knowledgeable if you're simply consuming more knowledge, does it? I think it does take personal experience to recognize that rest is a part of the productivity machine. Like even if productivity is your number one goal, it's a necessary ingredient. It's an enhancing ingredient in that, isn't it? But I think we have to learn that by experience to feel the effect of that. Or you can think about on the flip side how dysfunctional you are when you don't rest enough and you're like, I just read this yesterday. Why can't I remember it?
It's so true. It's so, so true. You could sit down to do something and be completely useless because you're not in the right headspace anyway. I totally, totally agree. And I guess even for doctors, I like to think of the refractory period. Like we know that nerves have a refractory period, the heart and its cardiac cycle. I'm sure there's a refractory period in there. Nature has refractory periods and you are no different. Okay. So I really hope that helps everyone who's listening today. If you have any hacks, if you have any other great journaling prompts, we would love to hear them. Pop them below so everyone can benefit. And otherwise, I challenge you to try that this week. Try that, see how it goes for you. And I think the key thing is not to overthink what comes out and just to trust, which is a little bit of a skill in and of itself. But I really hope that works for you. And I hope it really does change your game in terms of your satisfaction as you climb into bed at night.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just try and just experiment, see what works. You don't have much to lose in terms of what, 10 minutes? Do you reckon this takes? 15?
Yeah, 10, easy, even less. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's not much to lose, but there's potentially a lot to gain. And Kristeen and I like to think that with this podcast, we're never telling you what's right or wrong, but we hope to offer you this sort of toolbox, this smorgasbord of different tools and skills and concepts that can help you. And this one might help a certain group of you, and the next one might help the next group of you, but just experiment, because you do not know what works until you've done that N=1 study, do you?
And you might find that the prompt's different. Like, you might find that at step 3, you change the words entirely to suit yourself. Like, that's also fine. But I feel like having noticed the shift in myself was instantaneous. It just feels too good not to share it. And I feel bad that I don't have the person that I got it from. Yeah. Thank you, mysterious podcast lady. You did a great job.
Well, these are pretty universal concepts, to be fair. You know, these aren't concepts that are brand new and this person's brilliantly put them together, but these are concepts that we've seen create success in people for, I mean, I want to even say like almost from an ancient perspective, right? These are things that have been practices in different cultures and religions over time, in terms of how you use your mind and direct your mind specifically towards things like appreciation and gratitude and positivity to move yourself the way you want to move in the world. So there's 0 red flags in this system to me. It's all good stuff, and I am really excited to try and use it myself.
Yay, so fun. Thought Wizard approved.
Because I am clearly the guru.
You are the thought wizard. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your comments. And if you are listening to us on one of the apps, if you could give us a 5-star review or an honest review, leave us some comments. We would love that. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
I've been waiting all my life for something. I've been down the darkest roads and up in the clouds, but I've always felt that something's missing. That was until I